I have great pleasure now to introduce you to Dave Laity. Come up, Dave. How many people know Dave? Yeah, Dave is pretty local, coming from Cornwall, and has played an awesome part in this amazing journey that we're all on. And I had the pleasure to be trained as a peace constable by Dave, who's an ex-policeman and an ex-police constable. So yeah, without further ado, I'll hand you over.
Yes, I am ex-CID, but I gave that up about 20 years ago, and I've been doing all sorts of things since. I'm coming at things from a different angle. I'm coming from the rule of law. Because of my background, I try and do everything within the rule of law, because when you actually confront them with their own law and you ask them to stay within the rule of law as well, they have a difficulty in doing so. It puts them in an awkward position. So what I'm going to reveal today is, some people might know it. They were my notes, don't worry about them. I think we'll just go by what's on the screen when it comes up. But I'm going to reveal what happens with your council tax, where it comes from, where it goes to, and why there is a potential criminal fraud involved in that, and what you could do about it by lawful means within the rule of law. So I'm taking Cornwall as an example because I've got the figures off the Cornwall website, Cornwall Council Tax website, and this all relates to Cornwall, but I believe it does mirror in every other county throughout the country. Right, it's to understand where your council tax comes from, where it goes. A lot of you might know this, but you might not know the detail. Cornwall, this is an example, only 30% of what you pay towards council tax gets paid onto local services. 70% is central government funding. Basically, the whole 100% goes to a central fund, and I'm not going to touch on too much on that because Clive will be talking about that in his missives, but it goes into a central fund, and this comes from their own website and from talking with Cornwall councillors. They then get a precept coming back from the government, which is 30% of your council tax and 18% of business rates. Why does this matter? Well, there's a lack of transparency. Are residents aware of this? What are the implications on local services? Does the council disclose this fully? And the public assumes 100% of the funds. Clearly, this is not the case. 100% of the funds do not get spent on local services. This obviously makes a massive, massive impact on each county. The revenue sources for Cornwall are as such, and if you look here, you can see this is from council tax, this is from business rates, and the rest is from other sources, such as government grants. Now, to call them government grants is a misnomer, and possibly fraudulent, because they're not grants. I'll show you why in a minute. This is the breakdown of expenditure, which isn't too important, but this comes from their website, and you'll find that they actually issue this in a lovely little coloured brochure in every year to tell you where your money has gone. Now, that's another fraud, because that's not where your money's gone. That's where 30% of your money has gone. 70% has gone where you have no clue where it's gone. So to issue this and have you believe that that's where your money's gone is fraud. Failing to disclose, Section 2, Fraud Act 2006. Challenge it if you like. The council tax levies, obviously they get levies and various things get paid out to town councils, Cornwall Council and Devon and Cornwall Police. They still don't tell you that that's only a small portion of what they collect in. Now we go on to council tax bands, and the reason we do this is the average council tax band is taken as council tax band D. Band D is in the middle, right? The hidden inflation of your council. The current band D is £1,892 in Cornwall. Guess what it would be if 70% of your money did not go to central government? It would be £567 annually for your band D. So where does the rest go? It's collected by the government and it goes to the central government, and they don't tell us this. Total funding requirements for Cornwall off their website are 393 million. If Cornwall kept 100% of what it collects in, what would the band D be, and how would we calculate it? And this is how I came up with that figure. You divide the total amount of required funding for Cornwall, which they put on their website. You divide it by 208,000 Band D properties registered in Cornwall, and you come out with the figure for the new Band D charge, which is £567.82p. I don't think I would mind paying that in council tax if that was what I was paying for local services, and I got local services. What this confirms, the Band D charge is artificially inflated, so all the other charges are artificially inflated. If 100% retention had been the model required, we could lower the Band D to 567. The disconnect in this charge structure is being designed for. In the system, if the system were built from the ground up on 100% retention, the Band D would obviously start at that lower level. This is where the artificial inflation of your council tax bill begins. It's about how much of you already pay, how much of what you already pay never ever reaches Cornwall. And when I say Cornwall, your county. We're generalising in Cornwall. Every year, Cornwall actually collects £1.3 billion in council tax and around £1.5 billion in business rates. Cornwall only keeps a fraction of that, 30% of that, and the calculation shows you the £918 million in council tax and £1.2 billion in business rates is siphoned off to central government. That's Cornwall. That's just Cornwall. Can you imagine the amount of money that is going to the government that you don't know about and that other counties don't know about? Imagine paying £1,300 less a year for your council tax. I don't think any of us would be here if we were doing that. If we only had to pay £500, it wouldn't be worth me coming up last night and staying overnight to give a talk today. It wouldn't be worth you making the effort of arguing with them because you're paying for your services. And I advocate if you have a service, then why not pay for it? But you need transparency. That's where we're lacking. We're lacking in transparency. This creates an illusion that Cornwall is underfunded and needs to charge high council tax fees. Now, why would that be by any chance? Could it not be, a cynical person might say, could it not be that the government wants to give you grants for the shortfall? Now, by giving you grants for the shortfall, what can they do? They can impose conditions on those grants. And in effect, you are controlled by central government through funding that comes back to Cornwall with conditions. Starmer said there will be no more council tax increase. Well, that didn't happen, did it? Potential fraud by omission. Here we go. Fraud Act 2006. Failure to disclose facts could be fraud. Public not informed of the 70%, 30% split, and grounds for a public interest challenge. Now, that's my reason for being here. Public interest challenge. Stay within the rule of law. This is how you can do it. The key issues identified are councils typically do not fully disclose. The public often believes their full council tax payments go for the services, which are misleading. And the potential legal breaches are fraud, Section 2, as I've mentioned. Council tax demand notice, Regulation 2011, that's a regulatory standard, and it's in breach of that because that says they have a duty of care and a duty to disclose everything to you, which they fail to do. Duty of candour duty of candour is specific to health, but it does apply under common law, and the duty of candour suggests that they have to be transparent, be honest, and everything they publish and tell you has to be truthful, honest, and reveal everything, even if it's to their own detriment. Are they doing that? No, it's all closed doors. It's all behind closed doors. When I say it goes to central government, is this not double taxation? You are being doubly taxed and not told about it. The potential consideration here is that grants come with the strict conditions, as I said earlier. Excuse me. And that's how central government dictates to our counties and what we can and can't do. It's a control thing. And as Richard was saying, it's control in every walk of life that there is. The conclusion is there's no basis legally to withhold 70% of the council tax. Ethically, though, there is a strong case for misrepresentation and double taxation concerns. So what do? Instead of withholding council tax, I will not advocate anybody breaks the law, but you can stay within the rule of law. If you feel like you're withholding it, that's entirely up to you. I don't think that's breaking the law. That's making a point. Next steps should be a public campaign, freedom of information demands, and potential judicial review on the transparency grounds. I think we can attack them in many ways, and this is just one more way that we can attack. Who makes the law? This is the thing you've got to think. Who makes the law? It's not the government. Parliament passes the laws. Courts interpret the laws. But don't forget, the public influences both. Through elections, advocacy, legal challenges, and social pressure, the public, through voice, vote, and verdict, steers the course of law. It's you. You make the law for you. So don't be kowtowing to the law. You can give it a lawful challenge, and you can still stay within the bounds of the rule of law with a lawful challenge. Remember, Leighton versus Bristol and Souter. Bailiffs pursued a debt that was unlawful. The court awarded damages, and those damages would have been a lot more if he'd have given a warning to the bailiffs, which touches on Richard's thing about the summons. I can't call it a summons because I know legally it's not a summons. It's a letter from the council fraudulently pretending to be a summons because it's printed by the council. And for a summons to be legally binding, it has to be issued and authorised by a justice of the peace, not a legal advisor or clerk of the court. That is not a lawful summons. It has to be issued by a judge or a justice of the peace. So if you get what looks like a summons, write to your court manager and say, "Dear court manager, I've got a letter for this. Later on, if you'd like to leave your email addresses and name at the door, I'm going to put up a Google Drive with all of this information on it, and it'll be a lot more tidy. It'll be letters that you can write to your local court manager, and all you have to ask is, under the law, who issued the summons, and you will get back it was a legal advisor. Therefore, it's not a summons. Public interest challenge, the moral path. Always act lawfully and morally. Seek to change unjust systems, not break them. Dialogue and legal argument are your tools. Now, a lot of people do different things. I said at the beginning I stay within the rule of law. The reason I do it is because I've got the skill sets to do this from my past. So I stay within the rule of law, and it puts them very, very much in an awkward position fighting back. If we do this as well as everything else, we can win. Next steps for change. Ask your councils to disclose the funding system. It's on the website, but write to them, make them disclose it. Challenge the validity of enforcement. The enforcement, if the summons is not valid, no enforcement after that point is valid. Everything from that point on, under Lord Denning's judgment 1969, fraud vitiates all. Everything from the point of fraud onwards is void ab initio, void from the beginning. Question everything. If you've got a bit of paper in the post, question it. Richard's got a good scheme on that, haven't you? What you're doing, that's really good. Just question it. Do not accept it as read that they're right. They will try always to get money from you. This government is desperate for money, and they will try everything from parking fines to council tax fines, anything to get money from you. Challenge everything. As I say, if you leave your contact number at the door, we'll put a Google Drive up and invite you to take these letters down. I think that's the end of that presentation. Is there any questions from anybody?
Question over here for this lady.
Have you had success with this approach, David?
I came up with this idea 2 days ago.
You have. So
My forte is banking. I'm taking on Lloyd's Bank. I'm taking on the government,
Charles
the
Allen,
ministers.
I know him well. Oh, Charlie.
Oh, right. Well, I'm taking on Lloyd's Bank a toast now because it's in the hands of the Serious Fraud Office. It's making headway, and it's taken me 9 years to get to that.
So
but
have you stopped paying your council tax and approached it this way?
I haven't paid for a couple of years.
Fantastic. And,
yes, because they sent a summons and then the bailiffs around, so I'm going to sue the bailiffs because they came around on a fake summons. They had no lawful right. If they've got no lawful right, which is what I stay in the rule of law, they are really in trouble now because I stayed right firmly within the rule of law, and they stepped outside. So the council have caused harassment, alarm and distress, and they've caused bailiffs to come to my property, right, with no lawful basis. In fact, the council have broken the law numerous times, from what I've displayed up here, fraud, right the way down to the bottom line, issuing the summons, which they shouldn't issue. They can't print their own summonses, and they're printing batch summonses. People then, I mean, you can't go to prison for non-payment of council tax. What people do is they go to prison for non-obeying a court order further down the line from non-payment of council tax. The non-payment of council tax gets you into the debt, the fake debt courts, the administrative court, and that administrative court then, if you don't obey their court order. The thing is, though, what I said earlier, everything is based on a fraud. Fraud vitiates all. So all these people who've been to prison, if they had a fake summons, they've got a claim against the Ministry of Justice.
Thank you.
In the back.
Is
Yes,
harassment a criminal offence?
it is now. Yes. It's a new offence. I think we got to thank Mr. Starmer for that again. It was designed for them to shut us down again, but we can turn it on them. There is harassment, and then there's criminal harassment, which causes harm, loss, injury, and distress.
Community assemblies of the British Isles. He's very
Yes, I am.
familiar.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that.
Yeah.
You're confusing common law. There's two common laws, right? And you're saying common law, natural law, the law of the land, God's law, whichever you like to call it, the law of the people is one. Do no harm, loss, injury, and be honourable in all of your commerce. That's common law. The courts have sort of squeezed that into the courts because murder, manslaughter, and GBH is contrary to common law. But they talk about common law in a different context. But in pure common law, you're right, it's do no harm, loss, or injury, be honourable in all your commerce. And that is whatever different people call it. They call it God's law, they call it common law, the law of the land, non-maritime law, but it's all one and the same thing. And it is what we created. It's the people's law, for the people, by the people. Forget the barristers and all that. They're just academics that twist and turn words. The law is for the people, made by the people, and for the benefit of the people, not for the benefit of the hierarchy.
You said that for a summons to be valid, it has to be
Yes.
signed by...
It has to be authorised by a justice of the peace or a judge if it goes before a stipendiary judge.
So if you don't pay your council tax, is there ever a situation or possibility that that will be authorised by that person and that you will receive a valid summons?
Yes, you're 2 jumps ahead now. So basically, if you go through all of that process and you prove your case like Leighton did, I can foresee the next stage. They're going to make an example of that one person, and then they're going to go back to a real court and get a real magistrate to issue a real summons and go through the process again.
So a
But it doesn't negate-
magistrate can make a summons.
Magistrate's a justice of the peace, yeah.
Oh, of course.
A justice of the peace is a magistrate.
God, right.
But the court you're going to is hired by the council, normally. So it doesn't follow CPR, civil procedure rules. So there's a question. If you ever find yourself in court, ask them, are they on their oath? Are they following CPR, civil procedure rules? Because they are not, they don't. And check the validity of the summons first. The summons is the crux of everything. If it's false, everything thereafter. They can sentence you to life imprisonment, but it's all null and void if the summons is incorrect. Another thing on the summons, one observation, look on the back, it says, you do not need to attend if you do not wish to. That's coercion, because they're coercing you not to go to what you believe is a court of law, where you could find that something happens to your detriment. And they're going to do it behind your back, which is called ex parte hearing, a hearing without your presence, which you can then challenge. So everything about that so-called summons is totally and utterly misleading, and I would say fraudulent under the Fraud Act 2006.
So, Dave, since you said it was fraud, I'm here by the camera at the front here.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Since that is fraud,
Yes.
then they can't take you to court because, like you said, if they've committed fraud,
Yes.
everything before and after is invalid.
Yes.
So that's the answer
There you go.
to your question.
Is void. Void ab initio is the technical term. Void ab from initio, initial, a beginning. Correct.
Last question.
Challenge everything.
Last question.
Yes.
Okay, hi,
Hello.
thanks. It's just a simple question.
Yep.
You suggested earlier that we should write to our council and ask for a breakdown of funds or how
Yes.
to spend our money.
Yes.
The question is, who do we write to? Is it the CEO or is it a certain department?
I would just generally send it to the CEO of the council and copy in other people. I would copy in the Attorney General, for instance. I have the luxury of knowing all these addresses and emails, and I get the Home Secretary, the Attorney General, and people like that copied in. Why not? They are there. They are public servants. They are paid for from your money, from your double taxation. They're paid for. Make them work for their money. That's what they're there for. They're there to represent you. We're not there to do their bidding. They're there to do our bidding. So make them do it. Write to whoever you think. Ask questions. It's not an offence to ask anybody anything. They can not answer you, but I could ask you anything I like in this room now, publicly, if it was rude or anything. You don't have to answer me. See, you can ask anybody. Challenge everything.
In order to support the system as we're transitioning,
Yes.
we've got a legal system that
Yes.
we can actually challenge back
Correct.
with their rules and their regulations. We're also starting to step out of the system
Correct.
under maybe natural law. So there's a potential for a parallel system, and I think Richards has tried to create a vision of Biggleswick being a sovereign community.
Yes. Yes.
So you've got a parallel system.
There's always been a parallel system. It's
Uh-huh.
just that we've not been wise to it.
Okay, so with that in mind, and recognizing that the reality is we're going to have a transition period
Yes.
where one collapses, what would you advise the council to do in terms of if this is an emergency where the system is collapsing? What would you, to cushion that interim period, what would you advise the council to do?
Well, what I'd like the council to do is listen to the public who they're supposed to represent and who pay them to represent them. That's not what they do. It's a gravy train for them. So I think we need a change of council. I think we need to remove politics from it. But how we do that, I don't know. As I said, my forte is the banking. Banks, I'm coming for you next. I've quickly put this together. It needs some more thought. I'm going to put some documents up for challenges. If I can think of a way to answer your question in more detail, I'll put that on the document repository that people can download.
And I think for everybody, how do we think about that question? Because this is new ground, and by cushioning the transition, that means that we can migrate into a healthy situation, as opposed to in Biggleswick where we corral the wagons and get the pitchforks out.
Well, that's a good point. I always say I know nothing, but you lot out there, you are all brilliant and you all know something. What we need to do is all those little somethings need to be put together in one place and then distilled down into a solution. That's why these meetings are so important. They are very important, because if you take away a little bit about the 70-30 split, it's put a seed in your head to think about. If anyone can come up with any ideas, maybe we can have a document on that repository that people can type their ideas into, an editable document. As long as I haven't got anything stupid, stupid memes and things in there like usually happens, we can have a Word document, and you can, if you've given your email in, I'll give you access to that. You can type in your ideas, and then we can distill them down. I've got a very, very potent legal AI, which I've been training for a year, and it is years ahead of most AI at the moment. It is phenomenal, and I put stuff through that, and it comes up with It's like a filter. It needs adult supervision, you know. It needs a sensible grown-up now and again, but it will come down with a very good response as well.
Sounds very progressive.
Okay. Mhm.
Sounds very progressive.